Okay, so this is going to be Listen Next 772. So again, you can find me at ChristinaSatia918.com. You can find me on Podbean, on Spotify, also on YouTube. So, okay, I'm so temporarily relieved right now because I've only got a couple of major. Well, this recording's not going to be that major. It is, but it's not. I'm going to tell you more insight of what Jean has been up to, but then another big recording, and then I'll be caught up. So anyway, so this one is going to be talking about Jean's. I'm going to go over stuff that she did in planning to do 9/11 when she was running her child abuse rings. Okay. So, and like I said, this has been all of my life. It's how she funded and paid for and used it as a cover up and an excuse to get away with doing the World Trade Center attack. But I'm also going to tell you more of the antics she's been doing in my brain. So this is just notes I've just taken down over the past week or two. So she made another threat last week, but since then she's made 10 more of these where she's going, Christina, we're done here. Christina, we're done. She actually made a threat like that last night in my brain, and the Department of Defense was on, and they told me, they're ignore Jean making those threats at you because now they know who they are. They know exactly who's making the threats. And so they'll be held accountable. So, and they said, you need to continue to make, your podcast and make reports because these people are committing terrorism, based on they're stalking me, they're stalking my family, they're stalking Tulsa, and they're committing terrorism all over the United States and all over the world and blaming it on everybody else. It's everybody else's fault. So they're finally caught, and they've got a bunch of they know who they are. They are a bunch of show-offs. They're very, very sick people. So they said, and then so she goes, Christina, we're done. And then she said, okay, we're done is what she said. So I think she was making a threat at Oklahoma. Then, it was not last night, but it was about a week ago. I made a note of this. She staged a shooting is what she did. And I'm not talking about in the news shooting. I'm talking about in my brain and mental telepathy. So when it's in my brain and mental telepathy, I don't know when I hear shots, I don't know if I can hear somebody really being shot or if she's staging a shooting or if she's just shooting a gun at other people, making threat. I don't know what the shot noise, I don't know the purpose of the shot noise. So she did that in my brain, but she uses eyes to control my environment. So a lot of times what she'll do is she'll commit a crime locally in this city on top of probably telling people to do this. I don't know. You'd have to ask fire and emergency, but she'll commit a crime in this city in a specific location just to have the sound of sirens. She just wants the fire engine sirens, and she wants it to be within my earshot. And it's supposed to be a part of her, how she does her little stunts, her little acty synchronization stunts, and you do this and you do that, and then we'll drop a mic. And then they use sirens, to just be as a mic drop. So she does this by actually committing crime, which really in real life what's going on is she commits a crime using ice, and fire and police are responding to an actual crime. And so they're off, they go with their sirens, but she's doing that just so she can have the effect of the siren. So anyway, in my brain, I heard of a shooting, and it sounded like I was in my room, and it sounded like it came from underground. I guess maybe diagonal. I don't remember what direction it came from. Maybe like diagonal, like southeast, I guess. Anyway, so it sounded like a major shot. It sounded like two major shots. And then next thing you know, it went like totally quiet. Like my brain is usually full of her people screaming and hooting and hollering. And it went totally quiet, but all her like main sickos were still on. And then people are like, what's going on? They heard a shotgun. What's going on? What is this? And so it went really quiet. And then next thing you know, not in mental telepathy, but like I've got this going on in my brain of mental telepathy. And then next thing you know, sirens are going by. And then somebody said, Gene did that, like that. Someone said that's staged because she committed a crime to make the sirens go by. Because if somebody gets shot, it's not a second later that the sirens go by. So she's messing with people. So then later on she comes on and she has people screaming at me and she's making a big to-do that she said it's law enforcement that got shot. And then she said it's African Americans that got shot. And then she's like screaming at me. And then somebody told her to shut up. You're full of crap. And then they go, well, great. We're busted. Like they were serious, like they were being serious. Like they realized they got busted. Like, so anyway, that's what she did there. And then also there was more here. You know how she used the Jetsons. You have to see all code, the Jetsons cartoon, in which I in turn call her Rosie Ramjet. To her theming to do 9/11. There was something more with that she used, but I can't remember what it was. But anyway, also back in 1986, also something she did was myself and Microsoft Excel, myself and Excel Robertson. That really is his name. This is no joke. She ran a little child abuse ring, and she used ice to do it on an icy night and thought she'd get the hell away with it and try to hustle everybody in the future. No, you do not get away with doing that. So anyway, the fact that he went out the window, so like he had to jump out the window, he had to climb, what he did was climb out the window and then he jumped off, then he jumped from the lower floor because we were like 2 floors up. So, but basically him jumping out the window, so that's a future sign of doing 9/11, and you need to look further there at what else Gene did. And then abusing Excel, and then which ought to like anger freaking anyone and everyone if you're not already angry about it. I don't know how anybody could support Navy Gal 27 at anything. But also Microsoft Windows, she did that too. And then so then another threat she made recently, she goes, I told you, Christina, be careful with me. And then she was using, in that one, she's making a postal threat. So you have to see all postal code, the SOAP code. So, and then one of her people started shouting for Gene. They all like shout and cheer for each other and make threats and stuff. And then one of her people was shouting on behalf of Gene, like witches gone wild, and they go, Booker. And what they were doing was doing a spin on Booker T. Washington is what they were doing. Now you have to keep in mind, which I know you already know, you can see a picture of Gene Roberts on my website, but Gene Roberts lies to people who can't see what she really looks like. And she has some people, again, like I told you, who are forced and solely dependent on getting their sole source of information from her. And all she does is lie to them, and she lies about who she is. Okay. They can't see what she really looks like. And she pretends to be Spanish and black, and she pretends that all of her people are Spanish and black. And so she lies to people. And then she acts like she's just hanging out with everybody, and everybody just decided to just worship Gene. And what I was told today, again, I already know this is organized crime. But what I was told today, anybody that's like worshiping Gene, That's organized crime. So there shouldn't be any of that. So, some people said, they know who is doing it for fun, getting a charge out of it. And they know who is not. And her sick people, obviously, who are ones that make the CGI and run around making money, spreading lies and stuff, running their trafficking ring as they have been, since before I was alive. Those people, they're the ringleaders. So anyway, also, Gene stalking me my whole life. Okay. So back to the little bit of, cipher that I decoded. Okay. Where she steals my nickname. Okay. So my childhood nickname is Nina Marie Cook. So it's Nina Cook. Okay. So then she routes me in by controlling my life, my dad's life and everything else. And it's all pre-planned. She routes me into, North Chicago when I get older. Okay. So North Chicago, that starts with NC. She also pre-plans for herself. And this is how much she tries to steal my name. She also pre-plans for herself to become a Navy captain, which again is initials NC. So she can do exchange out. And she can steal my identity and Mrs. Robinson her ass off. So anyway, so more on the NC, she also used naughty child. So that's NC, and then you have naughty, which Knotty, so which would be wind, and then you have Great Lakes Naval Base, which is Bengal, and then gale of wind, and then not KNOT, which is like knots, and she's making a reference to her as being in the Navy, but she committed stolen valor. And then she also uses her, how she uses her email, so that she is the one who did this. She has been stalking me and trafficking me and committing terrorism and then trying to like I'm like her freaking pincushion, like whatever the hell. She'll tell a lie about me and paint herself as the all glorious, Caucasian light that the world's ever been waiting for. And I'm the freaking ogre from hell. Okay. So those would all be criminals doing that. Because nobody, if you're receiving information like that, or the pity party, which is still the same. Well, this all came from Gene and the lies and the manipulation. So if you're receiving that kind of information being thrown at you, you need to feel yourself being conned by criminals, and you need to be turning those criminals in. So anyway, so another thing that she used there was, I forgot, I lost my train. Oh yeah, her email address. So her email address is navygal27@yahoo.com. So I'm showing you this example of how she still uses present day. So she's saying, when I decoded her email address, she's saying naughtygal27@yahoo.com. So say it to yourselves. She's saying she's a baby child adult pusher and she's just so naughty. That's what she's using. So, and she's used it here too. And then she will use that as like swap out. So anyway, someone made a joke. They said, this is insane. Someone made a joke and they said, but they were serious. They're like, that phrase that goes, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. And they're like, is this the fat lady singing? They were like making a joke about like me, cause I've gained weight. I'm fat right now. So, anyway, I gained weight after walking for Eric Garner. So they go, is this when the fat lady sings? And they were like, well, Christina can't sing, but yes, I think this be the fat lady, which made everybody like start laughing in the middle of like everything. And then, so it was just a cute little thing, but no, really, at that thing, she pre-planned that too. And then she's calling herself the fat lady. She's referring to herself as Mrs. Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. So another thing is, she goes, okay, so she's trying to control my speech right now. So anyway, remember the ciphers that I decoded where she uses sleight of hand? Okay, I decoded all of that. Some of it is really old, and it's one of her techniques in committing crime. So another thing that she does is when she uses AI on me, she moves my mouth. Remember I told you she moves my mouth up and down like slightly, or she moves my head left or right slightly. Okay, that's another part of her sleight of hand is she's slightly moving my head. So again, if you see people moving my head or my head being moved slightly left or right, up or down, I just completely ignore it. I can't stop these criminals from doing that, but you need to know they're conning someone or lying to someone. Those are criminals doing that. So, let me see what else was there in here. Then let's see this one. Okay. So the Oklahoma City bombing continued. Remember I told you she used the Jake Isles band, centerfold as a part of her theming and doing not the World Trade Center attack, the Oklahoma City bombing, but she also did the World Trade Center attack. Okay. And then I found a way to turn it around to communicate to using mental telepathy, to communicate to the government that Gene Roberts is the one who did the Oklahoma City bombing. So I flipped it around and I sang at them, "Your lover is gold." She did the centerfold is what I sang it out. So they know, okay, Gene did the Oklahoma City bombing and the World Trade Center attack. And I'm saying your lover is gold, like your killer. And I'm saying she's rich. She's a freaking idiot. Like that. And I'm saying she committed stolen valor. So I spun it all around to be able to communicate to them. Your Benedict Arnold is the one that did it. So anyway, there's more to the song that she used. So, when she's using how she originally used the song and planning to do it, and then she has her little teaching fetish, her naughty school children. So anyway, remember how I told you when I decoded the Oklahoma City bombing, she was planning to do a bunch of crashes, and I decoded land run and all this stuff real estate crashes, and then the real estate crashes happen. So in the song, there's that phrase, "has just been sold." So that's in the song too. And then it was this week or last week, I heard a huge explosion underground. I heard it in my brain and mental telepathy, but it sounds like it's coming way up in the distance, and it sounds like a literal huge explosion. But there was no vibration to the ground, and I know what explosions are like underground. I can feel the vibration. So I know it wasn't local, but it was a massive explosion. And then this could have been this was around the time frame of the embassy, when the embassy evacuations. It could have been before that or after, but it's in the same time frame. But anyway, it was a huge, massive explosion, and I knew there was no way it could be local. So also she uses the phrase, the phrase that everybody says ad nauseum. Okay, she used that to add advertisement, nauseum, Nostradamus. So anyway, also, okay, so I'm going to end this recording here, and then I'm going to do another one.